So we're combining like terms today. So let's start with this one here. Apples and bananas. Does that remind you of that song?
Yeah.
There's an apples and bananas song, yeah. Okay. So, if I were to write this out algebraically, I would write it as 2 apples plus 4 bananas. I wouldn't write 6 apple bananas, right? Right? You wouldn't write that. Well, when we're using algebraic terms, it's the same thing. I would have to combine things that have the same variable with the same power. So, raise your hand if you can use a complete sentence using our sentence frame on what you could combine and why. Who's a brave soul? Okay. What about Andrea? Let's start with our sentence frame. I can combine blank and blank because. Variable with the same power. Excellent. I can combine x and 3x and negative x. Don't all 3 of those have the same variable and the same power? But look what happens. X and negative x are a 0 pair. Right? They cancel each other out. So I'm left with 3x. How about math? What else? For this one. This one's done. I can combine. Can you combine apples and bananas?
No.
So we can't combine y and z. So what can we combine? Right here. What's left over? Thank you. So do it in a complete sentence?
I can combine 2y and y.
Because same variable with the same power. Excellent. We're getting the hang of it. And so those go away. And z is all by itself. All right, let's try it again. How about Ethan? Complete sentence, please. Oh, you guys are switched. Christopher and Ethan, you're supposed to be switched, but let's not worry about that right now. Okay, go ahead. Variable and
negative
they have the same variable and the same power. Okay, so I have 4. This is like saying I have 4 negative a's, correct? But we wouldn't write it out like that. Just like it's not fun to write a whole bunch of bananas and apples. So we would say, if I have 4 negative a's and 2 positive a's, don't 2 of them cancel each other out like that? So I'm left with negative 2a. So those are done. Let's see. How about Gilbert? Gilbert? Can anything else be combined? I can combine they have the same variable and the same power. Isn't that to the power of 1? We just don't normally write it like that, right? Well, when we combine negative b and positive b, they cancel each other out. And all that's left over is a squared. Right? I wouldn't take 2 bananas and call those 2b squared. Right? Michaela, you have a phone in your hand? Okay. Put that on your desk. Last one. Let's see. Andrew Blanco. Complete sentence, please. Because there are no like terms. None of them have the same variable with the same power, right? So you cannot, there are no like terms. Like terms here. All right, good job, guys. Pencils down. All right, so a plus 6 minus 5a equals 14. My first step is to combine like terms. I have 1 positive a and 5 negative a's. Different signs, so I find the difference between them. The difference between 1a and negative 5a's is negative 4a. Plus 6 equals 14. Now I do PEMDAS in reverse, or GEMDAS in reverse, which is so add, subtract, multiply, divide. I'm going to undo those first. So when I undo the addition and subtraction, negative 4a plus 6, I need to do the inverse, which is negative 6. Change my color here. And I get negative 4a. These are inverses of each other, so they go away. 14 and negative 6. Different signs, so I find the difference between them. The difference, I'm emphasizing this because there was a lot of problems on the test last week because of this, okay? Different signs means I find the difference. The difference between 14 and 6 is 8. There are more positives than negatives, so this is positive 8. Now I need to undo multiplication or division. This is multiplication, so we're going to do the inverse is negative 1/4. Multiply both sides by negative 1/4. When I do that, my negatives cancel, my 4's cancel, and I'm left with a equals 2 times 4 over 1 times 1 over 4. My 4's cancel. A equals 2. So my steps were pretty simple. Combine like terms. Solve doing GEMDAS in reverse. I'm going to do another one. I'm sorry, I should have. It is negative. Thank you. That is a big, big mistake on my part. Always remember your negatives. Thank you. Evan? Ethan? Ethan. Was it you? Thanks, Ethan. Okay. 1 minus 6x minus x equals 8. So first I'm going to combine like terms. I need to combine my negative 6x's and negative x. If I have 6 negative x's and 1 negative x, I have 7 negative x's in all. Same sign, we combine, right? It rhymes. Different signs, you find the difference. Same sign, you combine, okay? So 1 minus 7x. If I want to get x by itself, I need to do GEMDAS in reverse. This is actually a positive 1 right here. So in order to get rid of it, I'm going to do its inverse, which is negative 1. That becomes a 0 pair, and I'm left with negative 7x. Different signs means I find the difference. The difference between 8 and 1 is 7. Now I'm going to undo my multiplication division. I'm going to multiply, bless you, by 1 over 7, or negative 1 over 7. Multiply this side by negative 1 over 7. My negatives cancel on this side. My 7's cancel on this side. That's why I did that, right? I did the multiplicative inverse. And I'm left with x equals, these 7's cancel too, don't they? Because isn't this really just 7 over 1 times negative 1 over 7? And those cancel, and I'm left with x equals negative 1. Questions? All right, why don't you guys do this one on your notes, and then we'll come back together. Okay, so did everybody get this far? I have negative 2n and positive 4n. Different signs, so I find the difference between them. The difference between 4 and 2 is 2. So then I rewrote negative 5 plus 2n equals negative 15. Next I need to do Gimme-Dots in reverse. So I added 5 to both sides of my equation to make a 0 pair here. I'm left with 2n equals different signs, so I find the difference between them. The difference between 15 and 5 is 10. I've got more negatives than positives, so it's negative 10. My final step, multiplication division. I've got 2 times n, so I'm going to multiply by the multiplicative inverse. The 2 cancels, and I'm left with n equals negative 2 times 5. On the quiz, even if people were getting some things wrong, if they were simplifying like this, they got partial credit. So when I saw factoring, that made me happy. Go ahead and drag this down a little bit. N equals negative 5, right? That negative sign we can't forget, right, Ethan? Questions on this one? We good? Okay, pencils down again. This time the variable is just on the other side, so I'm going to go a little bit quicker. I have 4 a's and a negative a. They have different signs, so I'm going to find the difference between 4 and 1 is 3 a's plus 3 equals 12. Next, I take the inverse of positive 3, which is negative 3, and I'm left with 3 a's on the right side. The difference between 12 and 3 is 9, positive 9. Now I take the inverse of each side. My 3's cancel, and I have a equals 3 times 3 over 1 times 1 over 3. My 3's cancel, and I'm just left with 3 equals a. My steps again are exactly the same. Combine like terms and solve by undoing Gimme-Dots. Questions on this one? Everybody's good? Okay, one more on my terms, and then you guys will practice one together. I have a negative r and 3 positive r's. Different signs means I find the difference between them. All of that is equal to 15. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides of my equation. These go away. And I'm left with 2r equals 15 and negative 3 have different signs, so I find the difference. The difference between 15 and 3 is 12. It's going to be positive 12 because I have more positives than negative. Then I'm going to multiply by half. This one's a little bit easier. Can't we also say, what's half of 12? 6, right? That's what that says, half of it. Break it in half, right? Half of 12, doesn't multiplication mean of? Half of 12. If you didn't know that, you would just do 2 times 6 over 1 times 1 over 2. My 2's cancel, and I'm left with 6 equals r. Questions? Pretty straightforward? Oops. Oh, I put a new blank page on there. Okay, you guys try this one on your own. tomorrow, Jesse and Selena, why don't you guys switch? See, that's what I'm talking about, that type of talking. Okay? Checking, what'd you get? Some of you may be bored, and I realize that, but there are such great discrepancies in abilities in this class that I have got to cover this. Like, remember what I said? Some people are writing this. Okay? It's not funny. It's sad that you don't know that that's 3 times 5. I've got to clear some things up before we move on. You know what I mean? Alrighty. You guys ready?